Hello, Miami. This is 305 Sports Now, your home podcast and channel for all things Miami sports related. I am Will, and I'm sorry I'm a little late in reviewing the Miami Hurricanes Bethune Cookman game, but I was on vacation, much needed rest and relaxation, and I am back and ready to give you the full dose coverage of what I thought and statistical analysis of the Miami Hurricanes versus Bethune Cookman. Well, first things foremost, it was a butt whipping. Okay, the Miami Hurricanes had a 70-13 victory at Hard Rock Stadium against Bethune, and it's pretty much what I expected. All right, in terms of a Mario Cristobal run football team, very well balanced on offense, very well balanced on defense. On offense, especially, you had balance in terms of the passing game, in terms of the running game. It's pretty much what you would expect, again, out of a Mario Cristobal type defense. TVD had a pretty efficient game. Okay, he went 13 of 16 with 2 touchdowns, 193 yards passing, and no interceptions. And they took him out of the game for Jake Garcia. Garcia comes in, goes 7 for 7 with 88 yards passing, no touchdowns, and no interceptions. In Garcia's defense, though, he did have a screen pass called back, because of a penalty by the Miami Hurricanes offense. So he would have actually had a touchdown pass to Brashard Smith, but it was called back because of an ill-advised penalty by the Canes offense. All right, but let's go to the running game. Okay, the running game scored 7 touchdowns. All right, 7 touchdowns. The Miami Hurricanes were without Jalen Knight in this game as well without Don Chaney Jr., of course, and Trevante Citizen. Jalen Knighton was a scratch of the game due to injury, but Henry Parrish did not disappoint. Okay, the kid out of Ole Miss, right, the Ole Miss transfer, flat out balled in the game as Harris rushes for 14 carries on 108 yards rushing with 3 touchdowns. And not to be denied, big old Thad Franklin, 9 carries, 78 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Okay, more than 5 yards a pop for both those individuals. Actually, more than 6 yards a pop for both those individuals. They flat out mauled. Okay, they mauled the Bethune Cookman defense. All right, it was just a bludgeoning of Bethune, but that was expected. But the Miami Hurricanes have never scored that many points against Bethune. They usually play Bethune every so often, but this year they just totally hammered them. Okay, so it was a nice crowd too at Hard Rock. Okay, the fans did show up a bit. Didn't stay for the rest of the whole game. They all went back and tailgated, but nonetheless, it was a decent crowd for a home opener against such a weak opponent. All right, and the Miami Hurricanes fan base did deliver. That stadium sounded loud, and just flat out, the football team just flat out did what it does best in those type of situations and dominate. Let's go now to the receivers. Okay, the tight ends did very well. Okay, Will Mallory was efficient. You even saw a Khalil Brantley sighting. He had one reception, and Jalil Skinner, the true freshman, had 1 catch for 30 yards. But I want to talk about the receivers because the wide receivers, I'm not going to focus on the tight end so much because we knew that they'd be good. But the wide receivers were a suspect group coming into this game. And the wide receivers, as far as your dog's going to go, as of right now, your most efficient, most consistent receiver, it's been in practice and as well now on the football field at the moment so far this season, has been Xavier Restrepo. Okay, that's my guy, man. I've been telling you about that kid since he was a freshman. He is a gamer, and he proved it. Okay, he had 5 catches for 100 yards, right? 1 touchdown, including a 52-yard reception from Tyler Van Dyke. All right, Frank Ladson had 2 receptions for 33 yards. That is the Clemson transfer. And Michael Redding III finally gets his opportunity after dealing with injury since freshman year. 2 receptions for 31 yards and a TD. Right, beautiful catch in the end zone. That was that he battled with the defensive back with, but ended up coming up with the touchdown as well. Okay, so just a little bit of what I want to talk about in terms of the receiving core. As of right now, like I said, Restrepo is your alpha. All right, Restrepo is the guy. He's your Braxton Berrios. Okay, at the moment, he's the guy that's going to be probably the leader of the wide receivers at this point in early in the season. Maybe I expect a Ladson or a Keyshawn Smith, who, by the way, was a hell of a returner during the game. For the Canes, to eventually take over as that Charleston Rambo type of guy. But as of right now, Restrepo, that is your guy, man. That is your dependable guy. That is your possession guy. That is your guy that's going to get you big plays. Maybe not, going deep all the time, but he is he's shifty enough to make guys miss and be a problem, for defenders. Okay. So I will say that he's a hell of an athlete. Um, Again, last year in the opener, he caught a touchdown pass from Derek King. This year, he catches in the home opener, he catches up and season opener too. He catches a touchdown pass from Taylor Van Dyke. They have a good connection. They've been working together for years. He's the guy. Okay. As far as receivers go, he's the guy. Wouldn't surprise me if Miami does try a 2 tight end set every so often, because you have such talent at that position with Elijah Arroyo and also Will Mallory and now with Jalil Skinner. Okay. Wouldn't surprise me they try that every so often, a 2 tight end set depending on the opponent. But the bottom line is that Restrepo's your guy, and Restrepo's going to continue to be your guy. And it's not a bad thing. Okay. He's a very efficient receiver. He could occasionally catch a deep ball if you ask him to, and he could catch the. He's a good slot guy. He'll catch the in space. He'll catch it in space. He'll go between the zone and he'll catch that football. He'll get you first downs. He'll move the chains and set up some big plays for other guys. I mean, so that's basically it as far as receivers go. So I do expect a better showing from the receivers, or them being used more. Not a better showing, but them being used more, as far as the Southern Miss games go, which is coming up. Because the fact that Southern Miss is a bit of a better opponent than Bethune is, but because, they just happen to be better, but I will say this, that I do believe Restrepo is going to have a good game again. Okay. He's just going to find a way to get open. You could easily do, bubble screens with the guy or wide receiver screens with him in general, and he can get you some plays. All right. He's just that kind of guy. All right. The defense. Okay. The defense was led by Caleb Johnson. He led the team, another transfer guy. He led the team with 5 tackles. The defense was a bit criticized by the fan base online quite a bit, because early on in the first drive that Bethune had, they were able to march down the field and get a field goal out of it. To give the coaching staff credit, they did adjust to Bethune, and they only gave up 13 points the rest of the way against Bethune Cookman. But the defense was also dominant. All right, the passing game, the pass defense was disruptive. Okay, which is what you want out of your defensive backfield. I know Ivy had an issue during the game, but not James Williams, not Cam Kitchens. Cam Kitchens got chewed out for that penalty, after the interception, and Frierson had a pick 6. So listen, okay, let's just be perfectly honest. All right, there were some chunk plays given up, and Bethune did escape some sacks. The quarterbacks used their legs quite a bit. There was only about 2 sacks in the game. Should have been about 4 or 5, but Bethune has some pretty athletic quarterbacks, so they were able to get themselves out of that situation. But the bottom line is, they were not gonna, also on offense, but they were not gonna open up the entire defensive playbook against Bethune. Right? You may see a little bit more out of the defense this upcoming game, and definitely against A&M at College Station on September 17th. But guys, I'm talking to the fan base here, because the fan base was just like upset, all right, at your defense gave up 13 points. All right, your defense gave up 13 points. Okay, your defense forced 3 turnovers, 3 interceptions. We had trouble picking off passes last year. That was one of our main reasons why we got hit a lot in the passing game, was that we had a lot of drop picks last year. That was not the issue this game. As a matter of fact, you had one return for a touchdown, and it was the guys who expected to get those picks. Okay, it was Cam Kitchens, James Williams, and Gilbert Frierson all had interceptions. Frierson had a pick 6, all right, returned for a touchdown in the game as well. Your defense, all right, so I heard some questions about defense. Your defensive line held Bethune to less than 100 yards rushing for the game. All right, the defense did its job. It adjusted at halftime. They were totally a lot more dominant in the 3rd and 4th quarter than they were in the 1st and 2nd. But nonetheless, they had a broken play that gave up for a touchdown. But nonetheless, your defense did its job. Your Miami Hurricanes did their job. 7 rushing touchdowns. That is absurd. Okay. And you've seen what you have with Parrish. You've seen what you have with Franklin. And hopefully next week we'll get back, Jay Knighton as well. And we'll see how the other 2 backs do. I think Citizen might be out for the year, but Cheney may be coming back, sometime during the season. You have a very solid football team at the moment. It's not a national championship contender at the moment. Okay. But trust the process. This team looked a lot more disciplined. This team looked bigger, first of all. Right. The size the size advantage between Bethune and Miami was not even an argument. Miami was a much more physically imposing team. All right. And they showed it, on the offensive line when they just basically mashed up, Bethune Cookman. So this team looks bigger. All right. This team, in general, its linebacker play is going to need some work. It's still a little suspect, but they did play better, than we've seen. They tackled better, definitely, during the game. Again, it's early in the year. They still don't tackle as hard as they used to back in the day because NCAA rules don't allow it for such. But the team definitely will improve with guys like Kevin Steele, with guys like Charlie Strong. So the fan base out there, take a chill pill. You won 70-13. You're in good position for next week's game against Southern Miss, which is a slightly better opponent. But the true moxie is going to be when you go to College Station and try to beat Texas A&M at their home field. And guess what? Due to the fact what FSU just did this weekend, and just the fact that Florida was able to beat a top 10 team in Utah and the Utes in general, the Hurricanes are going to be in a bit of pressure to get that done against an SEC opponent. All right. Especially the SEC opponent that at the moment is a little suspect offensively because of the quarterback play. All right. A&M's defense is going to be pretty good. Okay. It's going to be very hard to bully those guys. But I do believe Miami could hang, against Texas A&M. I do expect a pretty solid game, and I do hope the Hurricanes could pull the upset off the way Florida State did, because that Florida State team, came to play. All right, Jordan Travis was better this time around than he was all of last year against LSU. LSU also didn't execute, but nonetheless, Florida State did, and you got to give the Noles credit for that. All right, and Florida beating the Utes. So Miami, it's your turn. All right, you got to beat A&M. But we'll talk about the A&M game next week. We're focusing now on pretty much, over there on the team down south that we'll be playing. Okay, against Southern Missouri. So the only thing I will say though, if you want to check out, if you want to check out how good a Southern Miss is, their running team. Okay, their running team, and although it's not a familiar face, but a familiar name. All right, Frank Gore Jr. is their lead running back. All right, Frank Gore had a very solid game this past weekend, with 32 carries, 178 yards rushing, and 2 touchdowns. Okay, so we'll see how things go. All right, so Southern Miss versus Miami. Miami does have it is home field advantage for the Canes. Okay, and that's pretty much it. Okay, so we will win this football game. I guarantee we will win this football game, but Miami's run defense will be tested because this team is going to try to run it down Miami's throat. All right. Not so much passing. The quarterback only threw about 8 passes last game. So this is a team that will try to run it on the Canes. And I do believe the Canes defensive line is up for the task. Mesidor had a pretty good game, and we have a good rotation with guys like Taylor, like Stein, so on. And then we have, of course, Daryl Jackson, stuff like that. So once again, just want to say that. All right. So before I let you go, I just want to say a few things. Okay. Number one, once again, thank you for Clay Ferraro for appearing last week on the show. Clay, you can catch him. You can catch Clay weeknights on Local 10 News. All right. He does the sports alongside with Will Manso. All right. He also has a Sunday sports show, Local 10 as well, at 11:30. So do not miss Clay on Local 10. He's been very good to the show. You want to pay it forward back to him. And for those of you who saw the videos and stuff like that I put on, of my my covering of the 305 Fights TV, Enter 305, which happened this past Saturday. It was a great event. I will be doing a review of the show sometime this week. I will be releasing a video with pictures and videos of the event itself. So thank you for Mr. Elio Tarago for allowing us to cover his event. He's the CEO of 305 Fights, and he's also been on the show as well. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we do have a goal. Okay, keep in mind, we do have a goal. All right. So let's please try to get us to 1,000 subscribers by the end of this month. Number 1,000. Okay, right now we're just a quarter of the way. All right, we're almost 40% there. All right, we need a little bit more. All right, we need a little bit more. Okay, guys. So please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. If you're listening to the audio portion of this podcast, all right, please do not forget to download on Anchor, Google, Spotify, Apple, any podcasting platform where you get this show. All right, once again, for I am Will, stay safe. God bless. See you soon.